Hello children. So we have started with lesson number 6, composition of matter in science, and up till now we have seen different states of matter. What is the difference between solids, liquids and gases, and characteristics of the different states of matter. As well as we have seen that matter can be further classified into 3 categories, that is elements, compounds and mixture. Elements are independent one element. Okay. Compound is going to have more than one element together forming a compound, and characteristics of the compound will be totally different from the independent elements that are used to make a compound. And the third one is a mixture. In a mixture, simply mixing of different elements is being done, and very easily they all can be separated. So, for example, if you want to see, water is a compound and milk is a mixture. From water, to separate hydrogen and oxygen, it is very hard, and we have to use chemical techniques or electrolysis process. But in case of milk, if you think, it's a mixture of water, lactose, fats, proteins and a few more natural substances. They are mixed up, and the proportion of various ingredients of milk is different as per the source. If it's cow's milk, it's buffalo milk, it's goat milk, camel milk. Everywhere you will find that the amount of protein and fat are changing. Ratio is different. And the proportion of fat in cow milk is 3 to 5%, while it is 6 to 9% in buffalo milk. So those who want to have low fat milk, they will go for cow milk. The ingredient water is naturally present in large proportion already in the milk that we get from cow, buffalo, goat, camel, or any other animal. Therefore, milk exists in liquid state because water is maximum over there. The sweetness of milk is due to the ingredient that is called as lactose, and that only makes it drinkable for the small babies of that animal. In other words, the properties of the constituent present in the milk are retained. They do not change. While on the other hand, we have seen that in water, hydrogen and oxygen are used to make it, but the constituent properties, the elemental properties of hydrogen and oxygen are not seen in water. These both are gases, while water is liquid. Okay, so totally different properties will be seen in case of compounds from the elements which they are made up of, while in mixture it's not so. So we can go on to different types of elements now. Types of elements can be classified on the basis of their characteristics, like shiny surface, flattened, if it gets flattened on hammering or not, if it is having a dull surface, or it is going to break when you hammer it. Hammer it means hit it hard with a hammer. So, for example, we can take an iron nail. What will happen? If you hammer it, it's going to get flat. And is it having a shining surface? Iron is not that much shiny, but still it is, when polished, you can see that it is shining. Then copper wire. Copper is shining, and you can hit it with a hammer to make a flat plate like. Okay, aluminium wire also is a shiny surface, and you can make it flat by hitting it. It won't get broken easily. But if you take coal, coal is a natural substance. In coal and petroleum, last year you all have studied. If you see the structure of coal, it is not at all shining. Okay, and if you hit it with a hammer, it's going to break down into small pieces. So through these examples, we can understand that element has different physical properties like luster or non-lustrous like coal. Then malleability. Malleability means we can be able to make it into sheet, that is malleability. And brittleness, on hitting, if it gets broken, or it can be turned into a flat sheet. So on that basis, we can classify elements into metals and non-metals. Metals are having, last year you all have studied that metals do have shiny surfaces, they are lustrous, they are malleable, they are ductile, they are sonorous. So many properties of metals we all have studied. But non-metals, on the other hand, are non-lustrous. Okay, they are brittle. They cannot be drawn into sheets or wires. So that is the difference between metals and non-metals. In 8th standard already, in earlier class already, you all have seen that. So on that basis, we can understand that metals at home, whatever we are using, just go to the kitchen and you find that you can see your faces in the shiny utensils that are made up of stainless steel. Stainless steel is not an element, it is an alloy, mixture of say 4 elements. Okay, iron is main, then chromium, nickel and carbon are utilized to make it. But many other utensils of copper are also there, and you can see that how they shine, as well as they can be molded into sheets or wires, so they are metals. But certain elements like coal are not at all having properties like metals, so they become your non-metals. And there is also one more new elemental type, that is referred to as metalloids. It was also discovered. The detailed study of these type will be made in your further coming up chapter based on metals and non-metals. But it's very easy to identify metals and non-metals logically at home, everywhere. If you keep a watch, have a scientific attitude in your outlook. Then certain germanium like elements which are having some properties of metals and some properties of non-metals, we term them as metalloids. Okay, so these are the 3 types of elements. Okay, the next thing that we are going to come up to is types of compounds. Now you will say compounds are compounds, they are made up of more than one element. Then how to differentiate them into different categories? So if you check properly, certain compounds are organic in nature or they are made up of carbon compounds. Examples of organic or carbon compounds are carbohydrates, proteins, fats, then hydrocarbons like your petrol, cooking gas, and are made up of organic compounds. Other compounds like camphor, sugar, glucose, and urea use in our activities daily are also organic compounds. They are obtained from organic material. So they are organic compounds. So examples of organic compounds you can note down: carbohydrates, proteins, hydrocarbons, camphor, sugar, glucose. Then hydrocarbons example could be your cooking gas or petrol. Okay. While on the other hand, the compound that decompose, we can say on strong heating to leave a residue behind are inorganic compounds. On strongly heating, they are going to leave back certain residue. For example, if you heat common salt, the salt that you eat, if you are going to heat it, you can see that they will leave some black colored residue. Soda, that white color powder that you add in certain material to make it fluffy and crispy. Then rust, blue withdrawal, then limestone are inorganic compounds. So in compounds also there are categories. Some are organic, some are inorganic. Organic compounds are mostly obtained from living bodies, and inorganic are found in nature. Okay. In addition, there is one more type of compound that we can call it as a complex compound. Now, why this third type of compound are called as complex? Let us try to understand. The molecules of compounds have a complex structure formed by many atoms. In the center of this structure, metal atoms are also included. Okay, so it becomes a complex structure. For example, we can say chlorophyll, which contains even magnesium. Complex compound example, chlorophyll, which is present. It is present in green plants. In the chloroplast of every plant cell, we have chlorophyll. This chlorophyll is having which metal? Magnesium is found in its atom. Okay. And hemoglobin running in our blood. Okay. That gives us energy. That contain iron. Then cyanocobalamin do have vitamin B12 that contain cobalt are also examples of your complex compounds. Okay. So chlorophyll, hemoglobin, and cyanocobalamin are all having certain elemental forms of magnesium, iron, and vitamin B12 in them. That's why they became your complex compounds. Okay. Now, the part of matter having uniform composition is called as a phase. Part of matter having uniform composition. Any matter, but all the things are uniformly distributed. For example, atoms, molecules in them. So on that basis, we can classify mixtures. Okay. Mixtures can be further classified into homologous or heterologous mixtures. But part of matter having uniform composition as a phase. So on that basis, mixtures can be classified into either homologous or heterologous. For example, if you are going to make some sharbat, in that case, you dissolve sugar, salt, lemon juice in water, and if it is uniformly distributed, any part of the glass sharbat you drink, the beginning, the middle one or the bottom one, it will be tasting one and the same. This shows that it is homologous mixture. Means all round everything is properly distributed. Okay. So in mixtures, anything can be mixed, but if it is mixed in a uniform way or non-uniform way, that will decide if it is going to be homologous mixture or heterologous mixture. Okay, all the particles of a solid that stay together constitute a single phase. For example, if you take a heap of stones, okay, a liquid substance along with all the soluble substances dissolved in it together constitute a single phase. Salt water. If you dissolve salt in water, the distribution of salt will be uniform in that glass of water. Now, a liquid or all its drops present together or in the same container constitute also a single phase. For example, it's raindrops. The liquid present together or in same container but not mixed with each other constitute a separate phase. In that case, we call it a heterologous mixture. Example, if in a glass we try to mix oil and water, what will happen? Will oil dissolve in water or be uniformly mixed so that you can't see them separately? Obviously not. Water is more denser than oil, so oil will be making a separate layer above the layer of water in the glass. All the gases present together constitute a single phase. Now this atmosphere, air, is a mixture of gases. We can separate gases from this air, but actually it's a simple mixture, homologous. We can't see them separately directly, that this is oxygen, this is nitrogen, not possible, isn't it? So it's again a homologous type of mixture. Now, in that case, when we are going to study mixtures in homologous or heterologous forms, heterologous mixture, one more example I can give you, that is during rainy season, the drinking water that comes in the tap, if you allow it to settle down, you can find certain heavy particles settling down. Then you use a water filter or something to clean that water, so that you don't get some harmful effects of that contaminated water. So when salt, sugar-like substances are dissolved in water, it becomes a solution. The medicines that you have, if you have a syrup at home, cough syrup or something, there are many things added together, but they form a solution. It's a solution. So a homologous mixture of two or more substances is called as a solution. Solution is going to be a homologous mixture, okay, of two or more substances. It is in a beaker. If you take water and salt, then and you try to dissolve it with a spoon, it becomes a salt solution. Now you cannot observe that water is separate and salt is settling down. Because salt has completely dissolved in water, it becomes a homologous mixture. The component of a solution which is present in large proportion, that is water. If you take salt solution, water is taken in larger quantity, so it becomes the solvent. and the another atom that you are going to add in less proportion, that is your solute. So solution is actually a mixture of solvent and solute, isn't it? Solvent is mostly liquid and solute, which is added in less amount, that is your solid form many a times, like sugar and salt. Now, the process of forming a solution by mixing solutes in a solvent is called as dissolution. According to the states of components, solution can be of many types. Further classification can be done. The solution such as seawater, blue vitriol dissolve in water. Then salt dissolves in water. Sugar syrup having water and sugar, and different types of solid in liquid can be done. In addition to this, the solution can also be of three types: liquid in liquid, solid in solid, gas in liquid, gas in gas. So mixture, air is what? A mixture of gas and gas. Liquid, if you think milk and water, okay. Then another thing, mixing alloy like stainless steel. Here solid plus solid. Then gas can be mixed with liquid. So examples like this we can take is chlorinated water, hydrochloric acids, and here you see the composition of homologous mixture, homogeneous mixture is here. That is to say solution is uniform throughout the bulk, in the upper layer, in the middle layer, in the bottom layer, everywhere the solution will have proper homogeneous type. Okay, there will be no density more somewhere or less. Now, if solvent is a transparent liquid, the solution is also transparent and it passes through a filter paper. If you try to filter sugar syrup or salt syrup through a filter paper, you will find that nothing will be seen about. On the other hand, in sometimes if you add some mud to water or say sawdust and then you try to filter, you will find that mud will be settling on the filter paper and that is your suspension. Heterogeneous mixture of a liquid and a solid is called as a suspension. That is not called as a solution. Heterogeneous mixture is called as a you can call this as a suspension. Here we called it a solution, that is a mixture of solvent and solute, but heterogeneous mixtures are suspensions where some particles are settling down, they are not homogeneous, they are not uniformly distributed. Okay, in suspension the diameter of solid particle in a suspension is larger by 10 raised to 4 meter maybe. Therefore, light cannot transmit through them. It's not going to be a clear solution like homologous or homogeneous mixtures. And moreover, these solid particles remain on an ordinary filter called as residue. And therefore, the liquid and solid components of a suspension can get separated on filtration. So these are certain different types of matter and their subtypes. Elements can be classified into three types, compounds can be classified into three types, and mixtures can be classified into two different types. One more type is remaining of a mixture, that is a colloid. The mixture of water and milk is the example where you can say that it is translucent. It means that when light is incident on the surface of this mixture, it is partly transmitted, not completely, and partly some part is getting scattered also. This is because the tiny particles of milk phase in this heterogeneous mixture are dispersed, these particles in around them. Such a heterogeneous mixture is called as a colloid. So heterogeneous mixture where the light particles are not easily passed can also be termed as a colloid. Somewhere they are reflecting, distracting, and somewhere they are passing. So the best known example of colloid is water and milk. Milk is itself a colloid actually, because water is already there in milk. The solid and liquid particles of proteins, fats, etc. having a diameter of about 10 raised to 5 meter are dispersed in the aqueous medium. Apart from this, there are some more types of colloids such as solid in gases. Okay, so these microscopic small particles of fat and proteins present in milk is creating this colloid in the phase formation. So let us continue tomorrow with the next topic. Bye all of you.